again, everyone. This is Rudolph Wilkins with Forgotten Fitness, and today I'll be describing the exercise routine, Bodybuilding for Beginners by Joe Abbenda. For those that are not aware, Joe Abbenda was actually the winner of the 1963 Pro Mr. Universe competition. That makes him just about the perfect bodybuilder to learn from, in my mind. As clearly demonstrated by this photo, he was known for his incredible flaring lats and imposing physical stature. The following full body routine is perfect for anyone starting up at the gym or just getting back into weight training after a layoff. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this particular exercise routine, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And with all that out of the way, I hope you all enjoy this video. This program can be found in the June 1963 edition of Strength and Health magazine. The article starts off by describing the struggles of being a beginner bodybuilder. These include gaining muscle mass, finding the right routine, and sticking to a program. It is also very important to realize that no two people have an identical physical makeup. A one-size-fits-all routine typically results in less than adequate results. In addition to this, not everyone will be capable to win a big bodybuilding show like the Mr. Universe title. Even still, everyone can improve their health and fitness within just a few short months. Do not be deceived by clever marketing conjured up by big companies to sell you a gimmick product or an overcomplicated routine. Feel free to adapt your workout to fit your own needs. It is recommended by the author to adopt ideas that work to help you reach your goals. And that brings me to the quote, "You are never too old to learn," which is something that I particularly live by. Often, the simplest approach garners the best results. This program is intentionally made simple as a result. Only a barbell, dumbbells, and a bench are required. The exercises chosen are designed specifically to help familiarize the body with weight training. And this is the routine itself. Now, a couple of things I just want to mention. All of these exercises will be performed for a single set. And the first number, so for example on leg raises, which is a warm-up exercise where it says 15 to 20 reps, for the first time you perform these, you will be doing the 15 reps. And I hope that will make a little sense when I describe the progression system in the next slide here. But essentially, follow that first number and then start progressing up to that second value. But one thing I want to mention is if you take a look over at the article on the right, I put that in there because I wanted to show you the differences between that and the routine itself. Now this is actually really common. You see this in all the old books and magazines, that sometimes what's actually in the literature will be different than in the photos of the exercises. So for example here, exercise number 5 in the literature is the clean and press, which makes a lot of sense. It's Bob Hoffman, Strength and Health, York. You would imagine that it would be something like more of an Olympic lift. But in the photo, it actually shows the two-hand press, which is not the same. So it's up to you which one you actually want to do. Typically in my videos, I will go off the literature, which is what I did here. But the first exercise in the routine is actually a warm-up. It's the leg raises. Then squats, so you're doing the legs first, sort of as a primer to warm up the rest of the body. Then straight arm pullover, so kind of like we discussed last week with increasing the rib cage overall, a breathing movement. And then you have more of a chest exercise in the pullover, but both of them are really breathing movements. Then you have the toe raise, one leg at a time. I know that says 2 sets there, but it's really referring to 1 set per each leg. Then the clean and press, the bench press, shoulder width grip, so that's fairly narrow. Then you have the rowing motion, the stiff-legged deadlift, the barbell curl, the lying tricep curl, and the sit-up. And that is the routine. It's actually quite simple. It is a full body routine. So in the next slide, we will actually go over the routine progression system in a little bit more detail. And I should mention that it does not actually say how often you are supposed to perform this routine. I would perform it 3 days a week. That is typically what somebody like Bill Pearl would recommend, but it is completely up to you. I just felt like I should mention that. It is not mentioned in the literature. I would do 3 days a week. You can do every other day if you would like, but it's up to you. This is a classic full body routine. As such, you want to perform all the exercises together so that you can improve on all areas equally. The first month on this routine, you should begin with the lowest recommended number of reps before working up to the highest recommended number. After completing this progression, add an additional 5 pounds to the given exercises and repeat this process. Follow good form and range of motion to ensure you get full extension in the trained muscle. After 1 month on this routine, try to add in another set of 8 reps to each exercise. This second set should be roughly 10 pounds heavier than the first at this point. As with the first set, you will add an additional rep until working up to 10 reps total and then adding weight. The third month you will add a third set, which will be 5 pounds heavier than the second and 15 pounds heavier than the first. This set will begin with 6 reps before working up to 8 reps in total and further increasing the weight. With this style of progression, you should see massive results by the end of your third month. Also, make sure to follow a meat and dairy heavy, protein-based diet and stay away from all junk food. They will only work to halt your progress in the long run. The first exercise listed here is the leg raise, which is a fantastic abdominal primer for the squat. The important thing about squatting and deadlifting is that your core is very strong, and this exercise can not only strengthen the core but also prime it and get the core ready for those bigger, heavier lifts. But in this exercise, you will have your toes pointed up towards the sky, and you will be bringing your legs over in this semicircular pattern until your upper body and legs are making a right angle, and your legs are slightly beyond the perpendicular point with the ground. And this is a fantastic exercise. Not only is it a great warm-up, but it is just a great abdominal movement and can be added into any routine. The first of the real exercises in this routine is the squat. Now, the squat really is a full body movement that requires a very strong and rigid abdomen and core, and a very powerful and strong upper body as well to be able to hoist this weight back up without collapsing underneath it. Now, with this particular variation, our feet will be about shoulder width apart, and we will be squatting all the way down and coming all the way back up, trying to keep our upper body as upright as possible. Now, this is a fantastic leg exercise, obviously, but it is a very good breathing exercise as well. As you can see, I'm taking very deep breaths, and I'm trying to go through the entire range of motion fairly slow. And as a beginner, I think this is very important, as you will become more accustomed to the exercise itself and feel more comfortable around weights in general. The next exercise is the straight arm pullover. Now, I've talked about pullovers in a lot of my other videos, but this particular variation is using 2 dumbbells, and it is a straight arm variation, and I've never talked about that particular combination. And at first I wondered, why not just use a barbell? Why would he recommend 2 dumbbells? And then I quickly came to realize it's because it targets small stabilizing muscles in the shoulders that might not otherwise have been hit with a more rigid barbell. Of course, I love pullovers. They are great for increasing the diameter of the rib cage and increasing the size of the chest, as well as just improving the upper body in general. They target a lot of different muscles. It's a generally very hard exercise, and this particular variation is one of the toughest I've ever actually done, and is a welcome addition to this routine. The next exercise is one of my personal favorites, the toe raise or single leg calf raise, as we would know it now. Now, I've been doing this variation ever since I started training at home, and essentially all you're doing is you are holding a single dumbbell in one hand, and then on that same foot, you are doing calf raises. The opposite leg will be raised in the air, and that opposite hand will be braced up against a wall. Now, I typically perform this barefoot and on a block, but in this particular description and in the photos, he's actually wearing boots. Now, I don't have workout boots, but I do have shoes, so I decided to do it in the traditional way that is depicted in this article, which is what I like to do. But if I were to give a recommendation to a more experienced athlete, it would be to do this off a block or some elevated surface so that you can get a further range of motion. But if you are a beginner, this will be more than adequate, which I believe is probably what he was going for. Now we come to the clean and press, and admittedly, I am not an Olympic weightlifter, and I know my form looks pretty sloppy here. but I do have a couple of tips. First of all, make sure that you drop underneath the weight, like I'm doing. A lot of people, when they perform the clean, they will try to spread their legs apart to get underneath the bar, but what you actually need to do is shrug at the top very slightly and drop underneath the bar. I actually have quite a number of years experience with this exercise. I do not perform it anymore, but when I was in football and various other physical activities, we performed this exercise as a strength sport, and we did not focus on form at all. It was just how much weight can you hoist over your head at the end. So a lot of people would perform this exercise really poorly. As I mentioned, they would spread their legs apart and try to jump to get underneath the bar, and that leads to injury, absolutely. So you need to focus on form. And if you're like me or a beginner, what you really should do is use something like a dowel rod or a PVC pipe and just get your form down before you even touch any weight, which is really what I should have done here. But that being said, just perform this exercise very quickly. It needs to be aggressive and fast. That's how you will be able to lift the most amount of weight, but make sure your form is on point as well. So I would suggest, if you've never done this exercise before, use something as an analog for a barbell, like I mentioned, like a PVC pipe or a dowel rod, and get your form down pat before you even touch weight. And then you should work into lightweight and then follow the progression system of this routine. And that's how you can work this exercise into this routine effectively without hurting yourself. The next exercise we will discuss is the bench press. Now, the bench press is a fairly standard and a staple exercise that most lifters perform. But if you've never performed it before, essentially you will be taking a barbell, bringing it down to your chest, and pressing it back up. In this particular variation, your hands will be only shoulder width apart, so they are no wider than that. This will increase the range of motion. What things I like to do is I will take a quarter second to half second pause at the bottom before pressing it back up, and I will also hit a pseudo vacuum to help brace my chest and core for the actual explosive press back upwards. And if you follow these tips, this exercise should be pretty easy to perform. But if you're still struggling with the bar, you can do what I was saying with the clean and press, where you practice it with an analog for a barbell in the form of a dowel rod or PVC pipe. Now we come to the rowing motion, or the barbell row as we would know it nowadays. For this exercise, you are bending at the hips, you have the bar in your hands sort of out in front of you, and you are bringing the barbell up to your chest. I know a lot of people that do rows nowadays will actually bring the bar up to their waist, but in the old school fashion, the way you used to do it was you would bring it up to the chest, which can be quite awkward if you're not actually bent enough at the hips. So for me, given my limited flexibility, I had a little bit of trouble getting into the position, but after a little bit of practice, it felt all right. So I would suggest, again, to just work on your form before anything else, and then get into the progression system as mentioned in the article. Now we will discuss the stiff-legged deadlift. Now, this is a very simple exercise. To start off with, you will grip a fairly heavy barbell with an overhand grip, and you will bend as low as you can, only at the hips, ensuring that your back is straight and that your knees are locked. Once you get to the bottommost portion, you will come back up slowly and continue for the prescribed number of reps. This is a really good exercise that targets the lower back and the hamstrings of the legs, and is really great to strengthen the posterior chain of a new lifter. Now we come to the barbell curl. Now this is a fairly standard variation of the barbell curl, so make sure to keep the arm very tight to the body, and don't swing or sway to get the bar up. Make sure it's all bicep that is performing the exercise here. And one thing I want to mention is if you notice that you were starting to lean a bit too much on the actual exercise, lighten the weight. That's important because this is not a cheat curl. This is more or less a strict barbell curl. So you want to be as straight as possible, and you want to be using only your biceps here to actually get the weight up. The second to last exercise is the lying tricep curl. We would know this now as the lying tricep extension or skull crusher. To perform this exercise, you will have a barbell pressed above your chest with your hands inside the innermost knurls, so they will be about 12 to 15 inches apart. It's a fairly close grip. Then, bending only at the elbows, you will bring that barbell behind your head slightly before using your triceps to press the barbell back into the starting position, and you will perform that for the given number of reps. This is a great tricep exercise that hits both the heads of the triceps effectively and is a fantastic beginner exercise. For our final exercise, we will discuss the sit-up. Now, originally, this sit-up would have been performed in a decline sit-up board with foot stirrups. Obviously, I do not have one of those, so I ended up using my Nordic hamstring curl once again to hold my feet down so I can do the full range of motion here unassisted. Essentially, you're lying completely flat with your hands behind your head, and you are crunching all the way up, even over your legs, and then all the way back down. This simultaneously hits your abdominals and stretches out your lower back, killing two birds with one stone. It really is a fantastic ab movement. Alright, and that is the final exercise of this routine. I do hope you all enjoyed this video, and I also hope the audio was a little better. I ended up getting a new audio software editor to make my videos sound a little bit louder and a little bit more clear. I installed a lot of patches there that people have recommended to me, so I hope it all turned out pretty well. If you have any other ideas for how I can make my videos even better, feel free to let me know. I am always taking suggestions from you all and considering them because I want to make my videos as entertaining as possible and easy to listen to. So until next time, this is Forgotten Fitness signing out. Bye-bye.